I never thought a text at 2:15 a.m. could shatter my entire world, but apparently it could. My name is Carter. I'm 37, been married to Alara for 10 years, and until that night, I thought our life had its usual ups and downs. I knew marriage wasn't a fairy tale. I knew there would be stress, bills, routines, and nights when the spark faded. I expected quiet evenings, not fireworks every night. But I also thought there would be respect, loyalty, and at least some consistency. I guess I was wrong. It started like any other Thursday. I had finished a long shift at the construction site, sweat still clinging to my shirt, hands calloused but proud. I came home to the smell of dinner, the hum of our two-bedroom flat in Brooklyn, and the sight of Alara scrolling through her phone on the couch. She looked up briefly, gave a half smile, and went back to whatever she was looking at. I said nothing. I poured myself a beer, took a seat across from her, and tried to start a conversation about the day. The usual "how was work" type of questions. She gave curt answers, then muttered something about being tired and having plans later. I nodded, didn't press. I had learned years ago that pressing her only pushed her further away. Over the past year, I noticed subtle changes. The laughs had stopped. The flirty texts had disappeared. Intimacy wasn't gone, just absent. I would reach for her hand while we watched a show, and she would pull it back, like she didn't even notice my presence. At first, I blamed work, stress, even myself. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I had failed to make her feel wanted. I tried little things, cooking dinner, leaving notes, planning small weekend trips, but each effort was met with indifference. Not anger, not confrontation, just a cold, silent dismissal that felt heavier than any argument. And then came that text, 2:15 a.m. My phone buzzed with a single message from Alara. "If you don't like it, break up with me." I stared at the words for what felt like an eternity. Nightclubs, loud music, strangers. Where was I in her world? I felt like a ghost in my own home, invisible in the life we had supposedly built together. The immediate thought was disbelief. Surely she wouldn't text me this way. Not at this hour. Not after everything. But the words were there, stark and unflinching, like a challenge. I didn't reply immediately. My chest tightened, my throat went dry, and my fingers hovered over the keyboard like they had a mind of their own. I read it again, word by word, as if dissecting each letter could reveal some hidden meaning, some subtle apology or joke. Nothing. No hint of humor. No trace of warmth. Just a statement, almost casual, that carried the weight of dismissal. For hours, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe it was impulsive. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew it wasn't an anomaly. It was a culmination of months, maybe years, of emotional distance, silent resentment, and avoidance. Every small rejection, every ignored hug, every late-night phone call I had attempted to make her feel valued, all of it led here. I remember walking to the window, looking out at the faint lights of the city streets, empty except for the occasional cab. The cold air hit my face, and I realized something. I had been trying to save something that was already gone. I had been pouring my time, effort, and love into a relationship that had stopped reciprocating long ago. And there I was, standing in the middle of my own apartment, feeling like I was being punished for caring too much. The next morning, I didn't confront her. I didn't accuse, I didn't plead. I sat quietly at the kitchen counter with my laptop open, thinking about what to do next. It was one of those rare moments when clarity replaces chaos. I had two choices: continue living in a half-life of quiet rejections, or finally act in accordance with what I knew to be self-respect. By evening, I had packed a small bag, just the essentials, clothes, my wallet, a few personal items. I didn't yell, didn't slam doors, didn't make a scene. I simply left. I drove to my brother Nolan's apartment, parked the car, and stepped inside as if nothing had happened, though everything had changed. Nolan didn't ask questions immediately. He could sense it in the way I walked, the way my shoulders sagged slightly, yet carried a quiet weight of determination. Over the next few days, I realized the depth of what had been happening. Alara had become increasingly distant, her behavior at home inconsistent, her nights out more frequent. I understood now that this wasn't a phase, a misunderstanding, or a fleeting lapse in judgment. It was a choice. She had chosen her world, one where I was optional at best. And I had been optional too long without realizing it. I started going through my own routine with renewed focus. not as a means to distract myself, but as a reminder of my own worth. I called in favors from friends to keep my construction projects on track. I organized finances, I cleaned my apartment, and I focused on long-forgotten hobbies. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even defiance. It was self-preservation. For the first time in years, I felt a sense of control I hadn't allowed myself to feel. Then came the inevitable calls and texts. Alara had assumed I would panic, that I would beg, that I would try to bring her back into the life she had decided to escape. I did none of those things. I maintained silence, responding minimally if necessary, and only on my own terms. I watched as the narrative she was creating for herself unraveled quietly, without me needing to interfere. By the end of the week, I had a strange sense of peace. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was clarity. I wasn't trapped in a relationship that had silently eroded me. I wasn't a participant in someone else's reckless choices. I had taken control of my life, and that felt like the first real victory in a long time. Looking back, I don't hate Alara. I don't need to. But I understand now that some relationships don't end with fireworks or drama. They end quietly, through neglect and indifference. And sometimes, the strongest act isn't confrontation, it's simply leaving. I still check my phone, occasionally, hoping for a text that will never come. But each day, it matters less. I wake up knowing that my life is mine again, that I can choose where my time, energy, and love go, and that I won't settle for anything less than being seen, valued, and respected. And maybe that's the hardest truth of all, that love, when it dies quietly, can hurt more than betrayal. But leaving with dignity, walking away without chaos, that's the ultimate reclamation of self. I never thought a single text could change everything, but at 2:15 a.m., it did, and I'm finally okay with that.